Hope your morning is off to a fantastic start. We're going to step aside from our phone calls for a few moments as Margaret has brought a guest into the studios, and it is Mike Peluso, Business Services Coordinator with the Triangle South Workforce Development Board, affiliated with Central Carolina Community College. So I'm going to turn things over to Margaret. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning, John. Good morning, listeners. And good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Well, boy, this is top of the morning. This is Friday morning. You're off. Really happy this morning?
I'm very happy in the morning. I'm a morning person, so I really enjoy getting out and doing things in the morning. I was getting my exercise running about 4:30, so it's already pumped up for the day.
4:30, you were doing exercise.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's get to more things that's believable.
It's the truth.
Okay. Now, Mike, I know you've been doing this for quite some time. You've been working with the college and the North Carolina with the workforce development.
The Workforce Development Board in the local area, yes.
Okay, tell us how these things connect.
All right, so there are 23 workforce development boards across the state of North Carolina. And the 23 workforce development boards are generally responsible for overseeing the federal workforce efforts. So the federal government takes a pot of money and says, hey, let's use this money to train people. Let's get them ready for this workforce. And we're going to take this pot of money and we're going to put it in charge, put the people in the local areas in charge of this money. So we have partners and we have businesses, and they get together in their board. But you know what? They're working all day, every day. And because they're working all day, every day, they say, we need an administrative entity. We need a staff to go and run these programs. Most of these workforce boards, 22 in fact, out of the 23, have gone to COGS, councils of governments, or county governments, or that sort of thing. We are tremendously innovative in our local area because we're the only workforce development board in the entire state where our administrative entity is the community college.
Okay, so that's the difference.
That is the difference.
And how many people do you have working with you to carry out all of these tremendous programs?
All right, so we have on staff, it's 6 or 7 of us, I could count us, but it's about that range. But we have to, because of legislation, there's tons of legislation when it comes to the federal government, they kind of direct how we can go, what I call go to market, because I'm a business guy, my background's private sector, so I don't think programmatically. My first thought is, okay, how do we get this out to the world? And so we go to the market through what I would used to call subcontractors. We call them the program providers. They bid every year and they say, this is how we're going to drive the program. And they're the ones who sit in the NC Works Career Centers. Somebody comes in, they've lost a job. They say, I've lost my job through no fault of my own, or I'm underemployed and I want to skill up. They don't actually use those terms as our terms. They kind of come in and say, I want a job, or I want to go to school.
Just get me a job.
Yeah. And we say, okay, we have these programs. What do you want to learn? And then that's why we have, if I can do the sound effect, some great information here. We have Star Jobs, which is one of the things that we would tell these folks. How's that for a segue? The point of the Star Jobs is part of our job is to say, all right, you're unemployed, you're underemployed through no fault of your own. You may have this skill over here, but you need this skill over here to get a good, high-paying job. And by the way, these are the good, high-paying jobs. And those are the things that we try and guide people into knowing about when our case managers are discussing their options with them. And the benefit of the Workforce Board being affiliated with the community colleges, we are intimately aware of those programs that are available. And we're very, very tight with Sampson Community College as well, which is our neighbor to the right. Because we oversee that local area as well.
So you work Harnett, Lee, Chatham,
And Sampson.
Yes. And where does the Moore County area fit in? They have another COGO.
Yeah, they have a program, regional partnership workforce board, so it's a different workforce development board. I'm very close with their business services people. Our programmatic people are close with theirs. We will do whatever we can. So if we have somebody who's on the border and wants to go there, the workforce board, even though it's affiliated with Central Carolina, will put them into Sandhills if that's where the program is that they want to go, and that's where they're going to get that job or get the skill set to get them the job they need to have a great life, a sustainable living wage, because you need skills.
You have to have the skills.
You need the skills.
So how many people do you actually work with, or how many people do you actually get into these programs, say in a year, what percentage of the ones that you actually talk to or your other employees talk to when they actually decide, okay, this is for me. I'm gonna, because I look on here and I think, oh my goodness, I'm too old, but I really wanna. I mean, these are things that I really wanna do. A lot of them.
Well, let's. The numbers go up and down. Right now, the numbers are a little tighter as far as people who walk into our center, and that's because of the employment rate.
Yeah.
The employment rate is, but this doesn't mean that there's not still a demand for skills. I talk to these employers every single day. Every day, I'm on the phone with them. The number one skill everybody needs, absolutely number one skill across the board, is what I call critical employability skills. A lot of people refer to them as soft skills. The community college sometimes refers to it as HRD. They're accelerating their HRD program for human resources development. Those are teamwork skills and knowledge, ability to knowledge, to acquire knowledge and problem solving, and the just being that person who shows up willing to do a good job. You may not know everything, but you have a great attitude about it. That's the number one thing that everybody needs. Then we move into the technical skills. The technical skills, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this list of STAR jobs, and that's for your folks listening here today. The state of North Carolina has kind of a neat way of segmenting jobs based upon demand, growth, and salary. And so you can have a 5-star job, a 4-star job, a 3-star job, a 2-star job. So these jobs that we have here that we've listed, these are the 5-star jobs where you can just go to school, like you said, if there's somebody who's a little bit older, and I've run into this, where somebody is a little bit older and they're afraid because they know they have to learn something, and it's a little imposing to them. What you say is, hey, 2 years, a year and a half, you've already got this credit, let's bring you into the community college. Within a year, you can go from making minimum wage in the case of medical sonography or LPN, $42,000 a year, and that's a low-paid nurse. If you go into RN, then you're looking at, or associate degree nursing, that's $58,000. That's median. We're not.
Look at dental hygiene.
Yeah, I don't like to look at that one. That one always depresses me because I should have been a dental hygienist.
$70,000 at capacity. Okay, I mean that, but everybody is. I find so many people now who are getting into the dental program. But would you say that your health programs would be your greatest?
Yeah, the last time I looked at the total list, 10 out of the top 11 jobs were all in medical. Medical. And I also, there's a little thing, I do lots of things, and I'll pitch them all later, but one of the things that I did as part of my job is I was intimately involved in the Certified Career Pathway, which is like the easiest way to describe it without taking up too much time today. It's a map that the Workforce Board puts together that says this is how you get from here to here with a career. And the one we did was medical. We did actually nursing. And what we learned all the steps. So it's CNA, then LPN, then RN, then BSN, then nurse practitioner, and the different steps and who's involved. And the biggest choke point in that wasn't the students. It wasn't the community college. They're doing a bang-up job. Oh, wow, you should see our medical programs. Lisa, you run an awesome ship. Lisa Godfrey is the dean over that. It's that we don't have clinical space.
Yeah.
That's our choke point. So I can produce, when I say I'm not in charge of it, but the college can produce tons of space for these students. We can get out there and we can make them, but they have to spend some time in the field as part of their education. And if there's not space in those medical facilities, and so that's why
it's a deficit.
Yes, it's tough, but it's one of those things where we're working with our employers. We had all the employers there, all the medical employers, and they were talking about different potential ways that they could ramp that up. We were talking about, when we were putting this pathway together, we were talking about ways that we could maybe run them second shift and third shift is to get the students in. Because guess what, student? Once you graduate, you're making $70 grand a year, $68 grand a year, $58 grand a year. But sometimes you got to do the night shift. Sometimes you got to do the night shift. So we were looking at kind of alternative ways to build that clinical space up so they can go do their clinicals, get those degrees. The Workforce Board, so let's put the pieces together like Legos. So the first step is I'm underemployed, unemployed. Let me go to the Workforce Board. The Workforce Board says, we're going to help you. We have case management, so we're going to motivate you. We're going to give you these soft skills, and we're going to put you into a medical program. We're going to show you this certified career pathway. It's going to take you from A to B to C to D to E. You go into the school. The school says, okay, we're going to partner with our employers. We're going to drive this education. We have a lot of folks who do this. drive this education, and they go and they get that degree, and then we've developed those relationships with those employers. They get the clinical space.
Then they get a job.
And they get a job. But here's the magic part. It's a stackable credential. CNA leads to RN, or LPN. LPN leads to RN. We love this stackable credentials. The more we stack on top of each other, the more money you make. Now, I personally am a huge fan of nursing. And the reason why I'm a huge fan of nursing, and this goes back to my private sector days, and this is Mike Peluso talking. This isn't, some formal line here. When I see nurses, I see people, whether you're LPN or RN, you've got like a foundation. It's a bedrock in the medical world. You can,
And they're actually holding their lives in their hands.
right.
The doctor is the professional, but that nurse does all the work.
Yes. And I have a funny story to augment that. But what I mean by the bedrock means they've got that foundation. Now they can go into managing the business. They can go into selling medical products. They can go, because once you've got that, it's like the card saying, hey, I'm part of this club. Now let me go do these other amazing things. So you could go into a lot of different directions. Now we of course do a ton with CNAs because that is the entry point. We do, and if somebody has no education, we're going to put them into that first to get a feel for it. And it's a great way. If you don't like changing a bedpan, you learn that real quick without having to get a 2-year degree. So that is one of those areas where you learn. But now, to augment what you just said, this is a true story. This happened in the North Carolina mountains. My dad and my stepmom, they were out there, and they're walking around. They do the antique stuff. And they're doing their antique stuff, and they're going in and looking at this and looking at that. And if anybody's ever vacationed in our beautiful mountains, then there's unique personalities. And so they walked into one of these antique shops, and the proprietor walks up and says, how y'all doing? Trying to be friendly. And says, so what do y'all do for a living? And my father's big time executive. Oh, I do marketing, and I do sales, and I run this company, and we do trade shows and everything. The guy goes, yep. And he goes and looks at my stepmom and says, what do you do for a living? She goes, I'm a nurse. He goes, oh, you work for a living.
And that's very true.
Yes. Yes. She had a giggle, and she tells that story still to this day, years later, because it's true. So,
Well, I'm always so proud when I meet the nursing students at the college. They are professional.
Mm-hmm.
You still look for the ones with the little white hat and the little white dress and the little white shoes. And that's no, they don't wear that stuff anymore. But when you're in a hospital or a doctor's office, you're not sitting there waiting for that doctor. You're waiting for that nurse.
Yes.
She extends the TLC. She makes sure your blood pressure is working and you have your shot. And she tells the doctor what appears to be wrong with you. He does the rest. But when people go to CCCC or any of these other schools and get something in that medical field of nursing, as far as I'm concerned, you're on the top of the list.
And I have to say, personal life experiences, the best diagnoses I've ever got, the best bedside manner.
Nurse.
Yes, it's the nurse. It's always the nurse. Or, we've got these other things on here. Medical sonographer. I'll never forget. We had the sleep technician. I walk into the doc, and the doc says, I got apnea, like a lot of people my age do. And the doc says, hey, Mike, you if you lose 80 pounds, you're going to, and I did. He goes, if you do that, you're going to get rid of this apnea, your life's going to be great, etc. And so I'm going in, but they had to get the sleep test. The technician was the one who had the associate's degree. He looked at me, he goes, nope, you'll probably still have it for this reason, that reason, and the other reason. They're like the meat and bones of it. They're in the ditches, they're fighting that medical war, so to speak, and they know. And that's where you're going to get your best service. And the service comes directly from what the folks at the community college are doing, and directly, and if I can throw in another plug, the case managers, my wonderful case managers in the NC Works Career Centers across the local area. We've got ours on 1909 Lee Avenue here. They're the ones getting people started. They're the ripcord on the lawnmower. Let's get that going. Let's get that going. And once that motor's going, the community college takes it, drives it, we mow that grass.
Okay, do you all go into the high schools?
Yes.
And you talk to the kids about this, you get them on the career path early.
I forget high schools. Me and my youth services coordinator, we went and did a presentation to a bunch of kids in Harnett County just a few weeks ago, middle school kids. And you'd love it. We sat there and we were brainstorming, how are we going to get through to these kids? And so we came up with this analogy, and we did this whole PowerPoint presentation. You are a cell phone. You've got to have, and I showed the flip phone that these kids hate, and then I showed the smartphone, and I
I
said,
like the flip.
yeah, I said the kids hate, and we said, you know what? You got to have battery life. You got to have apps. Apps are skills. You need more skills. This is how we're going to get them for you, and and this is how you get better at it. And don't forget, you're doing this throughout your life. Those are called upgrades of you, and that's lifelong learning. So you're upgrading your skill set, that foundation piece, those soft skills, and you're also upgrading your technical skills, the apps. And we got it through to them. The teacher of because we presented this thing to 3 or 4 classes, she sent us the nicest letter, and she basically, all the points that we use, stackable credentials, upskilling, lifelong learning, she's incorporating that into her classroom so that it becomes a talking point throughout the rest of the year. So we're starting them early.
Great.
And our employers, I'm the business services guy. I talk to employers all day, every day. Our employers are the ones who are saying, let's get to them younger. Now, right now we're broadcasting, I believe, from Lee County, correct? We're in Lee County.
Lee Honeymoon Chatham.
Yes. There's a lot of manufacturing here. Manufacturing isn't like it used to be, and there's still a stigma associated with it. And if you're in a manufacturing facility, the odds are you're working with a computer. If you're just production, and our manufacturers are saying we need to sample this stuff out. So once a year, we have a big manufacturing day run out of the Howard James Innovations. Still call it the Innovation Center because I've been around forever, as you said earlier. But it's the Industrial Training Center, where we have hundreds of high school kids and even some middle school kids come through, and they talk to the manufacturers, and they have the robots and everything else that they're showing them. This is what manufacturing is. And guess what? Hey, if you look over here, engineer is the associate's level engineer is, how much was it? Mechanical or civil engineer?
61 and
Yeah, 65, 61, right.
it's amazing when I look at those salaries. Mike, you are amazing. You are in the right profession. We don't have enough time on our programs to let you tell us all the good stuff that you need to tell us. We have to get you back at different times. We bring you in today, and this is like the beginning. Then we'll bring you back again for the middle part. Then we'll bring you back again to see where we've gone from when you started. And you have the right personality to get all this stuff out there. So I'm sure when the people see you coming, here he is, y'all. We're gonna go to school before this man leaves here, because he's not gonna let us get out of here until we decide this is what we're gonna do. I like that about you. So
Thank
our
you.
time's up, but you've been great with just that. I mean, that is something I can show to my kids in my youth group. Look at this. This is what comes out of NC Works. We can call Mr. Mike over here. Let him talk to us and tell us all about this. You do go around to the neighborhood if they ask you, right?
We just did Family Day at the neighborhood
Very
center.
good,
We
very good.
are. Let me thank you. In all seriousness, I'm so honored to have this opportunity. I love to being able to speak to folks. I love getting the word out there. I really, really enjoy it. And if this is a service to your listeners, I will be happy to do it as often as you want me back here.
Very good. We will be calling you. Thank you so much. You've sort of made us have a bubbly Friday, and you have a great weekend.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.